I didn't do anything. Those four words have put more people in handcuffs than you'd believe. Most people think saying them helps, but it almost always makes things worse. I'm Joel Chorny. I defend people in Arizona's criminal system. And what I share here is general information, not legal advice for your specific situation. If you're facing charges, you need your own lawyer. Now, let me paint you a picture. A client of mine was driving home late at night in Tucson. He had just finished a long shift and was exhausted. Blue and red lights flashed in his rearview mirror. He pulled over, heart racing. The officer walked up and leaned down into the window. Before the officer even asked a real question, my client just blurted out, "I didn't do anything." To him, it was just nerves. He thought he was helping himself. But here's what happened. The exact phrase went into the police report. The officer wrote, "Driver spontaneously denied wrongdoing before I even explained the reason for the stop." That one line made him look guilty and defensive. When the prosecutor read it, they highlighted it. When I later read it to prepare for trial, I could already hear how a jury might take it. Why would he say that unless he had something to hide? And the truth is, he hadn't done anything wrong, but those four words shifted the focus. Instead of questioning whether the stop itself was valid, we had to deal with how his words made him look. It became a hurdle that never needed to exist in the first place. Now, I've seen this play out in more than one case. In another situation, a young man was pulled over near downtown. He stayed calm, gave over his license and registration, and when the officer started pressing with questions like, "Where are you headed? Have you been drinking?" he simply said, "I am choosing to remain silent. Am I free to leave?" That sentence went into the report as well. But notice the difference. Nothing about guilt, nothing about being defensive, just a statement of rights. It gave me room to argue the stop, the evidence, and the law. Without his own words being twisted against him, I was able to do those things. So why does saying "I didn't do anything" cause so much damage? Well, because in Arizona and everywhere else, the system runs on paper. Officers don't just make arrests, they write reports. Prosecutors rely on those reports to decide charges. Jurors hear about them months later in court. Your nervous denial gets frozen in time. The context, the flashing lights, the adrenaline, the fear, all of that disappears. All that's left is a single line. The driver denied wrongdoing. And now it looks rehearsed. It looks calculated. It looks like guilt. Think about how a prosecutor can use it. Imagine standing in court months later. The prosecutor says, "Ladies and gentlemen, before I even accuse the defendant of anything, he volunteered, I didn't do anything." Why would he say that? Because he knew he was guilty. And that's the way they spin it. They take your words, strip them of context, and bend them into a narrative. Now compare that with silence. Silence doesn't give them ammunition. Silence forces them to rely on actual evidence, not your nerves. So here's the rule. Never say, "I didn't do anything." Instead, memorize this line. In English, "I'm choosing to remain silent. Am I free to leave?" In Spanish, "Prefiero permanecer en silencio. Estoy libre para irme." I want you to practice it. Say it out loud right now. Again and again until it feels natural, because when the lights flash and the stress hits, you'll default to whatever feels most automatic. Better it be this than a nervous denial. And let's apply this in real life. At a traffic stop, after you hand over your license, registration, and insurance, if the officer keeps questioning you, calmly say it. "I'm choosing to remain silent. Am I free to leave?" At your front door, if police knock and start asking questions, same thing. "I'm choosing to remain silent. Am I free to leave?" Or in Spanish, "Prefiero permanecer en silencio. Estoy libre para irme." At a DUI checkpoint, when an officer leans in with small talk designed to get you talking, you don't need to fill the silence. Use the line. Short, respectful, calm, unshakable. Now you might be thinking, "But Joel, if I stay silent, won't that make me look guilty?" The answer is no. Invoking your rights cannot be used as evidence of guilt. The Constitution protects that. In fact, silence often makes you look like the only one in control. You're not flustered, you're not scrambling, you're simply exercising a right that belongs to every citizen. Or maybe you're worried, "But wait, if I don't talk, the cop will get angry." Yeah, sometimes that's true. Officers are human beings. Some don't like it when people stand on their rights. But here's the truth. Your job is not to keep them happy. Your job is to protect yourself. I'd rather deal with an officer's irritation for 10 minutes than deal with a prosecutor waving your words in court for the next year. And here's the big myth. If I just tell them my side of the story, they'll see I'm innocent. Wrong. Police are not neutral referees. Their job in that moment is to gather evidence. Every word you give them is a gift. They are trained to listen for inconsistencies, to write down things in ways that sound suspicious. And you don't win cases on the roadside. You win cases in court with your lawyer by your side. As I've heard it put, you might beat the rap, but you won't beat the ride. Now, let me go deeper into this because it matters. Imagine you're stopped and you say, "I didn't do anything." The officer may write, "Driver spontaneously denied wrongdoing." But what if the officer already suspects speeding, or drug possession, or DUI? Now your denial looks like you were anticipating the accusation. It paints you as someone who already knew what they were in trouble for. And that's how words get twisted. Now imagine you said nothing but handed over your documents. The officer has nothing extra to add. Their report is thinner, their case is weaker, and your lawyer has more space to attack the state's evidence without first untangling your own statements. So much of this comes down to control. Silence gives you control. Nervous chatter takes it away. Here's another layer. In Arizona, police often include the exact phrasing of what you said in quotes. They don't just paraphrase, they put it in quotation marks. And jurors, when they see that words are in quotes, they assume accuracy. They think, well, this must be exactly what the defendant said. Whether or not the context was fair, it now has permanence. That's why your words matter so much. This is why I'm urging you, practice the silence line until it's second nature. In English and in Spanish if you need it, because rights are only real if you use them in the moment. Now let's step back. This isn't just about keeping yourself out of trouble. It's about a bigger principle. Rights are not loopholes for guilty people. They are the foundation of fairness. They protect everyone, innocent people, vulnerable people caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. When you calmly assert your right to remain silent, you're not being sneaky. You're living out a core American value that government power has limits, that the police don't get to write the whole story unchallenged. And here in Arizona, with our diverse communities, with bilingual households, with Border Patrol stops that are a fact of life, this matters even more. Saying, prefiero permanecer en silencio, estoy libre para irme, is not just protecting yourself. It's modeling how rights apply to everyone, regardless of language, background, or circumstance. Think about your kids. If you teach them this habit, if they learn to calmly and respectfully assert their rights, you're giving them a kind of armor. Because one day, whether they're pulled over or questioned at a party, those words could keep them safe. The system only stays honest if people insist on their protections. When you say less, you're not hiding anything. You're refusing to give the state a shortcut, and that is how the balance of power is supposed to work. So remember, never say, I didn't do anything. Those words help no one. Instead, keep it simple. I'm choosing to remain silent. Am I free to leave? Or in Spanish, prefiero permanecer en silencio. Estoy libre para irme. I'm Joel Chorny. Remember, you have rights. They matter. Protect them. Stay safe. And I'll see you in the next video.